Today I fricked up by eating a bag of edibles before a flight. To those of you who might have wondered if it's worthwhile to eat a bag of edibles before boarding a flight, my experience might make you think twice. I figured that if I popped a few special chocolates after arriving at the airport, but before going through security, I'd sink comfortably into my seat on the plane, have a great time watching a light-hearted in-flight comedy, and painlessly arrive at my destination before I even knew it. I couldn't have been more wrong. Instead, I ended up living my own version of the "I'm going to Disney World" joke, making a complete fool of myself in front of airport staff and arming my wife with a story she loves to remind me of. She still thinks it's just as hilarious as it was on day one. My wife and I had wanted to visit Disneyland as adults for years, imagining how much fun many of the classic rides would be after a couple of beers, and otherwise just taking time to appreciate it all in a way we probably never could when we were kids. Earlier this year, we finally took the chance, booked our tickets, and were ecstatic for a real vacation to the fantasy world of a Disney park for a few days. And as the genius I am, I figured I could only enhance the otherwise boring, uncomfortable, and fairly long flight by eating a bunch of edibles once we got to the airport. I figured my timing was perfect. They wouldn't kick in until we'd passed security, and they'd last until we arrived and were settled in at our hotel in Anaheim. Except even with my decent tolerance, these edibles hit me like a truck going full speed. After only 20 minutes or so, I was already exploring space while in line at security. It took an incredible amount of focus to go through each step at the scanners, and even emptying my pockets into the X-ray tray was a real struggle. By the time we sat down at our gate, I knew I needed to shake it off. I, pretty abruptly, as my wife later told me, stood up and let her know I needed to go for a walk. I thought it might keep me grounded. I was also paranoid about being grounded. If the gate agents or flight attendants figured out how absolutely baked I was, they might deny me boarding. After a few minutes, the walk was helping a bit, and I knew I had to get back. It was almost boarding time. But when I looked around, I didn't recognize anything. Glancing up at a sign, my stomach sank when I read, "Baggage claim and taxi pickup." I'd somehow wandered out of the departure area. I must have walked through one of those one-way gates you see at your destination without noticing. I was going to have to go back through security, and I was screwed. Walking back to the security entrance, my brain was racing with the worst-case scenario. I was about to ruin our entire trip. What if my wife was secretly disappointed, and this was the last straw? What if this led to our marriage falling apart, costing me my job, spiraling into a depression where I end up living in a cardboard box? Such are the thought patterns of someone having an exceptionally bad time while absolutely schwacked. Arriving back at security, my fears seemed confirmed. The TSA agent scanning boarding passes gave me a long look and said, "Wait a minute, didn't you already come through here? I swear I saw you like half an hour ago. What are you doing back here?" In my panic, I tried to come up with a casual, clear explanation. Something a totally sober person would say. I managed to muster up my best effort while not even looking at the TSA agent. I thought I couldn't let my eyes give me away. And so I replied with pure literary mastery, I don't know, except I didn't even enunciate it. I just shrugged and kind of mumbled in a sing-songy way, while mostly looking at the floor or staring into the distance. She paused and said, "Okay then," and asked to see my boarding pass again. After a quick glance, she asked, "Off to LA today?" "No, Disneyland," I replied cheerfully. "Why didn't I just say yes? We were going to LAX." Looking back, I have no idea. Right then, she looked at me as if she had a grand realization, and I figured I was done for. She's on to me. But instead of asking if I'd been drinking, smoking, or if I was even okay to fly, her tone completely changed. She leaned in, now with a bright, slow voice, saying, "Oh, how exciting. Well, if you got lost, that's okay. We can help you get back, and once you're at Disneyland, you'll have so much fun on all the rides." Meanwhile, I'm standing there, obliviously thinking, "Yeah, I will have fun. Thanks, strangely friendly TSA lady." In her now extra clear, basic words, she asked if I had anyone waiting for me at the gate, like an assistant. The assistant question confused me. Is that some policy I hadn't heard of? I gave her a simple no, still likely glaring at a wall. She then asked if I needed any extra help at security and told me to say hi to Mickey for her. Now walking back to my wife, it all hit me like a ton of bricks. The TSA agent thought I was a different kind of incapacitated entirely, like someone who rode the short bus and was now on a field trip to Disneyland with support workers and aides. Now turning beet red, I sat down beside my wife and blurted out, "The entire security staff back there think I'm legitimately mentally handicapped." She still looks back on this as one of her favorite marriage memories to date. And for the record, the flight itself wasn't any better with the edibles either.